Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where hell you're listening to this podcast from. I am Kojo, of course, the 3inMidfield podcast. Welcome to the show. And it's the summer transfer window. A lot happening, a lot going on, a lot of exciting moves for a lot of teams. Crazy moves happening as well. Rumors flying around the place. And I thought there would be no one else better to join me than someone who's been on actually in the episode before last. Because the last episode was an Arsenal podcast, and God knows he doesn't want to do anything with Arsenal fans.
You know me
Theo,
well, man. Come on.
come on. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. First of all, as always, man, pleasure to be back on the podcast. And yeah, man, like you said, a lot has been going on, not just in terms of Chelsea, but I'm thinking of Wolves with Neves and Tonali going to Newcastle. There's so much going on, man. But it's always good to be back on the podcast and chop it up and talk with you. So appreciate you having me back on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, man. And even some of the names you said there, Tonali to Newcastle, that's not a transfer that I thought I'd hear in a million years. But now Newcastle are rich, mega rich. They have reached the Champions League and they're ambitious as hell. But we're not gonna start there. We'll start with your club first because you guys have been doing a lot of business, in particular going out. Because we know that Gusto and Nkunku were already coming. We spoke about that in the last show that we did. I think they're essentially permanently known now that they are Chelsea players. But on your goings out, essentially the midfield that you had to say winning the Champions League of Jorginho, Kante, and Kovacic in 6 months has been ripped apart. They're all gone. So yeah, firstly on those three, what are we saying? Is it time? Was it time for a revolution? Considering, Jorginho left for his reasons. Kante injuries. Kovacic could say the same as well. Was it just time to just cut the cord and start fresh?
I think so. I think I was surprised with the Kovacic one, and I think I can't remember if I said it to you or I've said it to someone else. But when Pep comes for you, and City are interested in you, there's a reason. There's still a player in there for me in terms of Kovacic, but I feel last season alone, Kovacic changed in terms of his performances. He had a lot of injuries. If you think back to the season before, the one that's just finished, he played pretty much, I'd say 60% of that through an injury, 2 injuries. I remember back to the FA Cup final against Liverpool. He was heavily bandaged up. He was literally probably getting injected just to play 90 minutes. So I think injuries played a massive part in Kovacic's performances. And I think that's obviously, again, given the new owner, now Pochettino, who's come in, food for thought. Is he going to be able to sustain that for the duration of this season coming? So I think that made sense to maybe move him on. My only worry is with strengthening what I would call a rival in City. So I always think, like I said before, if Pep comes in for you, City come for you, 9 out of 10 times they're going to make you the player that they want you to be. And obviously they've lost Gundogan. I think I read Bernardo Silva might be going to the Saudi one of the Saudi clubs as well. So he's going to get game time at City if that is the case. So very good deal. Can't remember the fee. I think the fee might be 26, maybe in the region of 26
in pounds, something like that,
something like that. So relatively good. N'Golo Kante was one that I knew it was going to happen. I think there was talk a couple of weeks ago that he was expected to sign a new deal. The new deal was on the table. He was happy with the deal, but it never got signed. It never got there was it was never approved. He was never done deal. It was always he's happy with the deal. He's happy with the negotiations. He's happy with the wage structure and and all of that. But it just stopped. He went quiet. It was just the back end of the season, and it's a shame for him because rightfully so. I'm glad he's gone to I think we were offering him 10 million a year or something. The club he's gone to is offering him 25 million tax-free money a year. God. So it's a no-brainer for Kante to go, and he deserves that. He's won. You think when he came into the Premier League, he galvanized the midfield for Leicester. He done exactly the same for us. When he came to Chelsea as well. He's won it all. He's won every trophy possible. I think in England that is possible. Club World Cup to add to that as well. So I think it's probably the right time for him to go. Injuries have played a massive part in his back-to-back seasons for him. We lost him a lot last season. So I think him going was always going to be, it was always going to be a difficult one for Chelsea because I think he's irreplaceable in my opinion. I don't think there's many N'Golo Kantes out there, in my opinion. There's players, very good midfield players out there. There's people that can do a very good job. But when you see N'Golo Kante at his best, there's not many that are matching him. So
quality.
it's gonna be a loss. It's gonna be a loss. And I think the other one was Jorginho.
Yeah, I mean that's 6 months down the line, but it's just interesting to see how that midfield trio has now gone all the ways, and even he might be leaving Arsenal this summer anyway. Like it's
it doesn't look like the grass is always greener, is it? So
well,
I think obviously for him, there was very much the talk that he wasn't happy behind the scenes anyway at Chelsea, but it did seem a bit very rushed through. I think it was on deadline day that he signed the deal to go to Arsenal. So I mean, players come and go, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the others shortly, but yeah, players come and go, and I think you just have to respect the decisions. At the end of the day, some of these players are thinking about their own futures rightfully as well. Kante, 25 million a year, that could set up his family and his next generation of kids down the line, their kids for the next. So it's a short-term career, so they've got to look after themselves.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it is, yeah, on someone like Kante going to Saudi Arabia, which I actually rate the move. Let me not lie. And the reason why I rate the move is because I can see that they're not only now going for, I guess, the players that you'd say are past their peak, and they're now going for Brozovic, for example. They're going for Ruben Neves. They're going for Bernardo Silva. You can argue that Mahrez is still in his peak years because Mahrez he's not slowed down. Like and I think Eduardo Mendy's going there, no?
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, Mendy's almost got a deal. I think it's 10 million. We're gonna sell Mendy, Koulibaly, Hakim Ziyech, the next three to go over there. Callum Hudson-Odoi is another one that's been tipped to go over there. Ruben Loftus-Cheek had 2 offers, but he's also got offers in Europe as well. So, I mean, look, take that out. For me personally, and I know there's a massive comparison at the moment between the Chinese Super League and the Saudi League that is currently up and coming and it's growing. I just think the Saudi League is structured a lot better. I think the finances are there for this to be a long-term plan. The longevity is there for this to be a really good league for any age caliber, 18, 31. You want to go and retire over there, if you want to start your career over there, it's a good place to probably go. I think in the next couple of years, it's going to take off. And, if they get the infrastructure in terms of youth setup and all of that, it's about time there was competition from just the Premier League being the golden boys of and everyone coming to the Premier League. Let's see what another league, another country, another continent can do as well.
Well, that's the uproar, isn't it? Obviously, people are talking about like, it's the favorite word is sports washing and all that. And I'm just like, guys, firstly, football's been corrupt from day one anyway. You have a documentary on Netflix about FIFA, the whole bloody organization. If you want to watch that, you know what I mean? They're top of the food chain. So if you're talking about corrupt, it starts from up there, but let alone talking about the guys
the brown envelopes.
Their league. You know what I mean? But as just like trying to build an actual league and make it so competitive. What I think was so smart was, and I think what MLS are going to try and do as well, because I think they kind of failed the first 2 times with Thierry and Beckham, is when they got Ronaldo in there, got a year in there, got the most famous footballer on the planet, got the eyes there, because immediately it was like people are keeping tabs on what's going on, and then suddenly people were like, oh, I didn't know Anderson Talisca's playing down there. I didn't know Igalo's the top scorer in the league down there. Like, people are keeping their eyes on that league now. And then he's gone there, and people were expecting that at the end of the season, he'd just run away for a loan, or he'd be looking for a move back to Europe, saying, I'm out of here. He's calm.
He's happy.
He's happy. And people are looking like, hold on. Okay, if he's happy, maybe this might be worth it. And they're offering wages that they can.
Yeah,
they're showing infrastructure, like you spoke about, the improving training grounds. They've got good stadiums.
Oh yeah,
they've got very good stadiums. They can compete, and I think it hurts in particular the Premier League, but the rest of Europe, because Europe is the golden boy in it. It's like you don't really watch, if you're from Europe, you don't really, I say if you're from Europe, let me try and be a bit more smarter about this. If you are focused on the top leagues in England and Spain and Italy, Germany, and to an extent France, people call it Farmers League forever because of PSG. If you're focused on those guys, you don't dare think about the Brazilian leagues and then the MLS and any African leagues and any Asian leagues, because to you, they're small play. Who cares?
Yeah.
Well, you finally got someone that's saying, yeah, we're going to compete. And what I want as well is the Champions League's at the golden boy. But there are many Champions Leagues in football. There's a European Champions League. That's why it's called the UEL. Or UCL, sorry, UCL. And then you've got the African Champions League, you've got the Asian Champions League. If players
there's
of
loads.
a high quality go there and compete for these trophies and make it competitive, you can put eyes everywhere. This is what football is about. It should be about. And we should be happy to watch so many different leagues and see so many talents in different places. I don't think the Chinese league did it well with Oscar and Hulk. You got two guys there in that time were famous because Hulk was the name alone carried weight, and Oscar was a quality footballer. I think he did all right at Chelsea before he came to Chelsea. Where was he before he came to Chelsea? Juve? Oscar. Where was Oscar before Chelsea?
I don't know. I don't think he was in Europe.
I think you're right. I don't think he was. I said Juve, but I don't think he was at Juve at all. Wherever he was, I remember him being hot property, and obviously you signed him, and I remember he scored some quality goals for you guys as well. Went to China.
Yeah, he did. He was a good player. He was a really good player.
There you go. But obviously they didn't use it properly. Beckham, the superstar, from Real Madrid straight down to LA Galaxy. You got to utilize that. They didn't do well enough for that. Then you got Thierry Henry. He was scoring quality goals for you. Didn't do much with that. Even Zlatan with the 2 years that he was in LA Galaxy.
Forgot about Zlatan as well.
You know what I mean? So someone's doing it. Obviously, they got Messi coming now. So that's going to be an interesting one to see.
You can't mess that one up. Literally, no pun intended, but you can't mess up the Messi. You can't mess it up. You've got him. You've got the global, him and Ronaldo, the global football everywhere. You go to the tiniest island on the globe and you say Lionel Messi and they know who he is. So you can't mess that one up now. This is the last roll of the dice for MLS. But Benzema as well, just quickly. I mean, he's gone over there as well. And you know, I think obviously the maybe religion comes into it slightly. You know, you look at some of the players that have gone over there as well. Maybe there's a link to that, but why not? You know, I think I read a tweet the other day about I don't even mention who it was, ex-United player, but on Sky Sports. You know who I'm talking about, right back. Left back.
Yeah.
Begins with a G.
Yeah.
And all the rest of it. So, you know, I think I think, you know, another one who was happy to see, you know, bids coming in from the Far East for Man United. Same with the other one, the one whose name begins with a J, and you know, it's from Liverpool. You know, he's happy to see, you know, bids coming in for Liverpool as well. And you think, you know, Salford aren't being pushed through the Premier Football League, what to get to the Premier League and be sold to who? An investor. Where's the investors going to be from? So it's all well and good when it's not lining, you know, it's not good when it's not lining your pockets, but when it's lining up your pockets, then it's okay to do these things. And you know, when Ronaldo went, there was no talk about all of these other stuff. You know, he was happy for Ronaldo to leave Man United, so he was happy to go and sit in Qatar and present for the World Cup. So
which is fine.
Which is 100% fine, but don't then come on the other side a couple months later and start talking about, oh, you know, it's all this and that and sports washing and and they've taken the golf, they've taken the boxing. Look, these people are choosing to go over there because one, they're getting a better deal than they are over here. That's a no-brainer. Kante was getting offered £10 million at Chelsea, 2-year contract or something, 3-year contract. Now he's getting the same terms and getting £50 million more, and I'm pretty sure it's tax-free. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure it's tax-free. So if it is, it's a no-brainer. Come on, like I just said, what if he doesn't want to be a football coach or he doesn't want to be a manager when he leaves football and he wants to just invest in his money? It's an extra 15 M's that he's just earned over 2 years or 3 years. So
literally,
you know, I don't criticize anyone that goes over to another league. You know, God forbid we didn't have anyone that was from, you know, Europe or Africa or a Caribbean island that came to England to kick football, because we'd just be like the Romanian league or the another league in Europe that no one watches, if we're being real. Because look at the English talents, that it's not amazing across up and down the country. So you got to be careful what fight. Pick your battles wisely, man. Don't be talking about. Imagine no Haaland in the Premier League or no Kevin De Bruyne or no this person, that person. So what's the difference with it on the other side of the world? I don't know.
There is no difference. It just hurts them that suddenly maybe the Premier League and the other leagues that they adore are just not the main attraction for these guys. You know, if you give it 3 years ago, And if we say Benzema was leaving Real Madrid, then the first link would be all in Premier League clubs. Oh, there's no way
Oh
he's
yeah,
going to Saudi Arabia League. No, he's and when they're happy to see someone go, like you said, like about Ronaldo, because when Ronaldo left, it was like, oh, it's the end of his career. Then he's done. Why is he going to Saudi Arabia? That means you're done. He's rubbish now. He's not as good as he was. But now you're seeing guys go there, and arguably when you're talking about Ruben Neves, who's, if you're talking about age, technically isn't in his prime, but is young enough to have at least another 10, 15 years in the game. If he's going there and then Brozovic following him, who's next? Even Callum Hudson-Odoi, he's 21, 22?
Yeah, 21, 22. I mean, he's had a troubled couple of seasons. You think back to, I think Sarri was still there. Must have been Sarri when he was at Chelsea. So he had a troubled time under Sarri. Went on loan to Bayern Leverkusen, didn't really perform. I think he started pretty well, but he just dipped out.
Yeah.
So I think he's probably at that point now where he knows he needs another club, and if that's not in somewhere in Saudi, it's going to be a club in Europe or another club in England. Maybe even drop down to a relegated team from the Prem from last season and just try and rediscover himself. But it's a shame for him. He had a lot of potential, but I think he came through that crop of players that the Mason Mounts, the Ruben Loftus-Cheeks, the Chalobah, the Christensens. He came through that bunch of Cobham graduates, and the door was only ajar for so many of them to get through. And I just don't think Billy Gilmore, another one. There's so many of them that came through that same door. There was only going to be so many that was going to make the first team, and he was just unfortunate that there was players ahead of him at the time that were just considered a better fit for the style that he wanted to play.
Yeah, exactly. One more thing on the Saudi thing, that someone made an interesting comment to me on WhatsApp in a group chat. I'm just going to say this right now, right? If anyone is criticizing any of these guys for going to get wages over there, I don't care. Get your money. Get your money. And I'm saying this all day. The same reason, same thing I said to someone at work as well, where someone said, because one of where I work, I'm not gonna bait it out. Someone, I think they're essentially the boss of the company, or near enough the boss of the company, has now got like a new position in another company as well. So they're doing dual money. Yeah, and the money in that job as well. If you think about the role and what they're offering, it's gonna be like, you're talking about 100,000 a year minimum kind of thing.
Plus,
yeah, exactly. And someone said, "Oh yeah, but do they need that? I mean, considering how much they get here." I'm like, "Well, so what about what they get here?
No matter.
Get your money. Hell, in fact, if I'm going to be very, very honest, no one's really taxed fairly in this country. Like, I mean, the rich stay rich. Absolutely. If you want to go into the whole technicals, of course. But if you're talking about how much people get taxed here, your 100K is not 100K. So if you top it up with another 100K, top it up with another 100K, I'm here for it. I applaud you. Get your money. Get your money.
No, it's true, man. It's true.
My ambition is to be a manager of a club one day. I'm going to get back into my coaching, continue my badges, try and go to the top. Yeah. If I'm managing Man United, Lord willing, I mean, if the Glazers are gone, that is, after, and I've enjoyed 5 years there. I'm on good money, and then suddenly, I don't know, another club in Saudi Arabia says, "Yeah, we want you to come and manage here for 2 years, and we give you 900K a year." I'll be like, "Listen, I love this club, but I'm out. I am out.
You're
2 years is enough, and I'll retire. I am done. I'll do punditry for the rest of my life."
And this is what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm saying to when I have this discussion recently with people. I keep saying to them, footballers don't have a lot. You're not playing football till you're 80, or 60. Like most jobs, like regular jobs, you retiring at 65 or 70, depending on when you're going to retire. These footballers don't have that. Yeah, they might have a good pension. They might have obviously investments that while they're doing in football. But if we're talking about long term, imagine you retire at 30 or 35. You still probably got another 40 years plus on the earth. So you got to think about, you got to set yourself up nice. And so you ain't got to, do you know what I mean? Do all these madness and whatever else. So you end up in what's it called? The jungle program and all them things. I'm a celebrity. Do you know what I mean? You've got to set yourself up. And a lot of footballers, I think it's changing now, but a lot of footballers back in the day, they never got like financial, like courses to make sure that you was okay with your money. Like then there was just willy-nilly, you could spend it how you want. Whereas now there's things in places and clubs where they try and help you push your money into investments and this and that and da da da. So you're meant to be okay when you retire, but not everyone does that. Some people don't want to do that. Some people want to live for now. So
Yeah.
go and get your money, invest it well, and then live nice for the next 50, 60 years, whatever. I don't. To me, why would you want to stay in grey London? Not even just London, England. Let's be real. Let's not sugarcoat it. The whole of England's the
country.
same. The whole country. Why would you want to? Why would you want to stay here in a place that 90% of the time it's always either bad news or it's raining or whatever, or
Yep.
go to Saudi and live life, enjoy life, less stress. Well, what are we talking about? Come on, this is mad. So go and get your money and enjoy. That's all I gotta say to any footballer that's been. Listen, I'm hoping they call my phone because there must be a job for me there.
Bro, I'm not kidding you not, but I actually googled football jobs in Saudi Arabia just to see, just in case. You never know. If there's an opening there, you take it, man. But anyway, let's continue. Back to the transfers. So Kai Havertz is probably the biggest transfer that's currently happening. I say that because Declan Rice, no one knows what's happening with that right now. Like apparently City are now ready to make a bid, so we don't know where he's going to go. But Havertz is looking like it's certain now that he will be joining Arsenal. So we'll do two questions. The first one is his stint at Chelsea. Honest thoughts, because I have my thoughts as well, but it's not just based on him. And then the second thing is, what do we think he can do for Arsenal? I will ask some Arsenal fans in the future what they think he will do for them, even though the overall reaction has just been sort of negative to that. What the hell do we want with Kai Havertz? You can ask about a lot of players, and a lot of players come good for you, so you just never know. But still at Chelsea first. What are we saying? Are you giving it like maybe like a 5 out of 10? Are we happy with what he's contributed to the club?
It's hard. I mean, I would probably say 6 if I'm honest. So if I was going to do it out of a 10, and the reason I give him a 6 is because I feel he did contribute, but I think he was set up to fail at the same time. Okay. Because there was times when we would play Kai Havertz as I'm going to say as a false 9. He wasn't even a false 9. He was just the striker. He was the number 9 that we were trying to play down the middle. Now, I don't know if anyone watched Kai Havertz before he came to the Premier League or whatever, but he was not technically playing as a striker at all. Like that's just, you can see that if you go watch the Bundesliga. Yeah. The thing with Kai Havertz, he's a really good player in the right system. And we got to see that in glimpses when he played possibly under Tuchel, maybe even Graham Potter as well. But there was a game, I mean, recently I think there was a game against Dortmund. That must have been under Graham Potter. And he was brilliant. I'd arguably say he was man of the match at that game. And the reason he played better is because he almost played as a second striker. He almost played just off a striker. He's sort of not the striker, but he is the striker as well. And he loves and what he loves to do really well is he'll find pockets of space to run into. He'll use, especially if you play. I mean, I would have played him more on a wider left or right. I would have predominantly played him on the left side. And let him drive in with the ball and use that space, because he that's one of the things he does very, very well. And a lot of Chelsea fans will criticize him based on the fact he was playing as a striker. If you put me as a striker, I'm probably going to miss 100 chances. So everyone's got a position. If you're not necessarily meant to be playing in that position for me, then you can't really criticize him because the manager's telling him to do a job. Thomas Tuchel, I think, originally said that, you know, he was asked what's his preferred role, and even Thomas Tuchel couldn't answer the question. You know, he said he's a man of many talents or something, or I don't want to paraphrase him, but he's basically saying he can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play as a 10, he can play as a 9. He's man of many. You know, he's good in the box, aerial duels. He's good. You know, off set pieces, he's brilliant. So I think it's harsh for Arsenal fans to say, what do we want with him? I suppose, you've got probably people in that position that are going to start ahead of him. But you got to remember, Arsenal are in the Champions League this season, and you do need a big squad. You know, they missed Gabriel Jesus last season through injury. And Nketiah, yes, he came in and done a job to an extent. Martinelli can do that job. I see him playing maybe where Xhaka was sort of playing last season to an extent as well. I think he could probably play that role. But I think Arteta's smart. I think, he knows that he needs someone in that team that can probably sit on the bench and come off and play some games, or can come into a Champions League game, give one of his regular 11 a rest. So for me, the only thing that did shock me was the fee. I mean, I'm surprised we got that much for him. I'll be honest. I didn't think we were. I think we might have paid 75 for him, maybe 80 million.
Yeah.
So in terms of how long he's been there and what the expectation of him was, which, if we're going to be honest, he hasn't fulfilled at Chelsea, then you would expect maybe a 50 or a bit less, maybe 40 for him. But I think he's going to do amazing for Arsenal. I think it's a really good buy for Arsenal. I'm not just saying that because I wanted him off the books, but I think he's a really good player.
No, I agree. I hate the way football's gone and sort of like the system thing, because I blame Pep Guardiola for it. It's not his fault. It's his fault, but it's also not his fault, in the sense of he found such a system at Barcelona that works that he could implement it everywhere. And everyone that was trying to catch up to him didn't know how to, because the style was, they didn't know how to implement it like he does, nor did they have the quality of players that he did as well to do the style. He's not even originally his style. He's obviously adapted it from the past, like Cruyff and so on and so forth, with the position football and getting players in the right positions. Like he's adapted it, and he's using his current crop of players to do it. And when you have that transition from having players who, back in the day, 2000s and further back, you had tactics, you had systems, but players who had the freedom to go out there and really express themselves and make runs where they thought it was. And if they didn't agree with the tactical style, they would do their own thing. I always go back to when Arsene Wenger said that he tried to put an instruction out, and I think Lee Dixon and Patrick Vieira told the players, "Hey, don't listen to this guy. Just keep doing what we're doing." And for someone like Kai Havertz, right? I watch him, and when he was at Leverkusen, the one name that kept popping into my head was Lampard. Lampard, because he doesn't have the goal tally of Lampard, but he gets into the box or on the edge of the box like Lampard, and he's slapping goals for Leverkusen. So when he joined Chelsea, I was thinking, I don't rate Lampard as a coach, but bro, this is your double. Like, utilize.
You should know what to do with him.
Yeah, just look at him and be like, yo, you're doing what I do, obviously to a lesser scale, but let me help you learn why I was so successful in that role and express it. But with someone like Havertz, now that Chelsea didn't really utilize him, depending on who the manager is, I think Tuchel eventually found the slot for him. Mm-hmm. And then when they signed Lukaku, it kind of went south, because there was he wasn't the main man anymore. He wasn't the false 9 or number 9 or the shadow striker or second striker or number 10 going in. He was now going to be essentially playing for the focal point that is Lukaku. Obviously, that didn't work out, but he's someone that will be looked at as a, dare I say, and I hate this term, a luxury player. Mm-hmm. Because I think they're going to look at him and say, how do we use him? I think it's quite simple how Arsenal use him. Now, they're going to say they've got Jesus at number 9, Saka's got the right, Martinelli's got the left, and at number 10, they don't want anyone but Odegaard. Understandable. Completely understandable. However, I personally, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, I personally consider Havertz more of a goal threat than Jesus. I don't...
Tough one.
It's a tough one, but it's because although I understand what Jesus' role is for Arsenal, I don't enjoy what he does as a striker. I don't
I hear what you're saying.
Going too deep and like trying to create from left back or wherever he gets into and doesn't link up with Martinelli. It's nice for Arsenal and it worked this season, and I'm not saying they should change it, but just as a player that's known as a striker, I don't enjoy that, because your main priority should be score goals. Whether it's
I've always said that.
Yeah, whether it's this era or previous eras or the future eras, if you are a striker, my aim for you is to score as many goals as possible. And I don't think he puts himself in enough positions to do so. Whereas with Havertz, I think he has the know-how, and they're both smart players, but I think he has a bit more know-how in terms of how to get into those spaces and attack those spaces. And when you got someone like Odegaard and Saka that can create for you, get into those spaces and get those chances. And I feel that he will thrive more than Jesus, because Jesus has to get involved in the play a lot more than Havertz, in my opinion. That's just how I feel about those two. That's why I feel like he'll do a bit more for Arsenal. And I don't think it's a bad signing. I think it's a very good signing. The fee is crazy. I agree. However, if we're going to be very honest, I think everyone has to realize that Chelsea are not going to lose once, if regardless of change of ownership. If there's one skill Chelsea will not lose, is how good they are at selling players. They make good money from sales.
Not
I think
you know.
Maybe I'm forgetting some. Maybe I'm forgetting some.
Well, just I mean, even looking Koulibaly, I can't remember what we spent on him. I'm gonna say,
I want to find out.
I'm gonna say at least, I don't want to say 50 million, 45 million, but we spent a lot on him, and I think we're only selling him for 20 million or 25 million. So we've lost 20 million in a season on him. So I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you recently. I can't remember the figures. So, but I think we've signed him for about 45 million.
Chelsea, here we go. How much is that? You went for 38 million euros. So
yeah, it was thereabouts. But I think we're only selling him. Like, I think between him and Mendy, I think we're only going to make 30 million for the two of them.
Okay, that's poor. Okay, that's poor. So that's poor. Yeah,
you're getting 2 for 1. It's a buy one get one free sort of thing. and I think previous times when Marina Granovskaya was at the club, you know, she played hardball. She wasn't selling anyone for anything, and that's why a lot of our players ended up on loan, because certain clubs were just not willing to budge, and they had a realistic valuation of what they thought our players were. We had our valuation, didn't come to anything. They go on loan for 2 seasons, and then we let them go at the end of the contracts, like Bakayoko, who's finally off the books this season. But yeah, I think at the moment, I mean, looking at Mason Mount, another one playing hardball there. So I agree with you there. You know, we're trying to hold out for. Initially it was 80 million. I think yesterday we said we'll accept 65 as a because
I think you're selling for about 57 million pounds.
I think 50. I think I've literally just, whilst we're recording, just read that the deal has to be done by next Friday. Otherwise, it's not happening. And the reason that, or is it this Friday actually? End of next week. So the reason that is, and the reason why we're pushing for all these sales, is because we have to meet that deadline for the 30th of June, which is next Friday, for the FFP stuff. So if that doesn't happen, we're not in any rush. We don't have to rush to sell Mason Mount. He's still got another year. I mean, we can still keep him at the club for another year and let him go on a free next season. Like,
that's fair.
To us, it's not really that big of a deal. I don't think I mean, what we're offering him is probably just in comparison to what you guys are offering him. Now, you're offering him 200 grand a week, 5-year deal. I think I read today.
Yeah.
You're looking stressed at that 200 grand, heard it?
Man United offering big wages doesn't tend to end up well. That's why it's nothing about him. It's just the history recently has just been bad. So,
what do you think about Mason Mount though? Because I think we did speak on it last time, but now that it's materialized, it's coming into fruition. It looks like it's going to happen.
Not gonna lie to you, I'm not mad at it. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot more players that I prefer, but I do think he's a good footballer. I don't understand the uproar. People talk about him as if he's an average Joe. I don't think he's bad. He's a good footballer, technically sound. If you're talking about trying to build a pressing system, he's aggressive. He's got the stamina and the energy to go back and forth. And when he was utilized well, he had a good goal and assist return. I think in 21-22. I think that's the year that he did that. Yeah. So.
Yep.
You know, it becomes it's about how you use players at the end of the day. This is how it is in football, isn't it? He could come in and he could have a stellar year, and then the next year it could be crazy bad, or this year it could be bad, and people are saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have signed him." But the next year, he kicks on. Same thing for Sancho, because everyone, when Sancho's coming, bring Sancho. He could beat the guy from Man United, and now it's I don't think so. It's football. You don't know, you know. So sometimes you're excited about, and then they don't work out. Some signings, you know, and I always tell people I'm not someone to come and tell you that I think this guy's gonna be a star, because sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. I'm a fan. I'm an opinionated guy. It is what it is. But I think he'll do well for Man United personally. I hope he will, but I generally actually do think he'll do well
if he signs.
Yeah. So
I still, there's a part of me still thinks that he might sign a contract with Chelsea. I mean, I know his agent have come out and said that under no circumstances will be signing a deal with Chelsea. But I think when push comes to shove, I mean, you talk about the club that he's come through the ranks from youth, and I'm not talking 18, I'm talking Mason when Mason was still in primary school. So
Yeah,
he's come through the ranks, and I think to looking at him at the last game, I mean, he looked like he knew that was his last moment at Stamford Bridge as a Chelsea player, last game of the season. But stranger things have happened. I mean, stranger things have Lukaku's still on the books. Stranger things have happened at Chelsea, man. So,
facts. Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
fact. But yeah, no, I'm interested to see where that goes because I did have a feeling about that yesterday where you about the contract. I was thinking if we don't get this deal done, transfer window closes and he stays, I do expect Chelsea to do everything to try and keep him
Oh yeah,
past the year. And from what I've heard, Pochettino does actually like him. He doesn't
yeah,
want
yeah.
him to go. So if he does get a year with him and he utilizing him and he's enjoying his football, what reason has he got to run away? He might become a key man on Pochettino and he might even help you guys get back into the Champions League because at this point, Champions League is free for all. At this point, it's City and then everybody else. City's definitely
Fair
making
game.
it. Yeah, exactly. It's fair game. So intriguing. It's intriguing. We'll see what happens with him. Declan Rice. Just out of curiosity, where should he go? I mean, right now it's City and Arsenal, but I'm thinking about it this way, right? And I rate him above Kevin Phillips, or Calvin Phillips rather. So I'm not. It's not a comparison, but I'm looking at City's team, and I'm not saying that he can't start because I think he can. I think he's more than good enough to start in that midfield. But you've got the chance where it's either a rotational thing or at Arsenal where they essentially guarantee you that you will be the starter. But are you going to go for the team where everything's ready for you, or are you going to go for the team where they're trying to try and become a competitor? I don't know. I don't know what the best move is for him. I actually know. I do what I think is Arsenal, but do I know it's Arsenal?
I mean, I'll say this. For me personally, I think 2 years ago, Jack Grealish had never had his hands on the Champions League, the Premier League, not even the FA Cup. Actually, and any hands on anything. I don't think at Villa. He's gone to Man City in 2 years, and he's won the Champions League, the Premier League, FA Cup. He's won a lot, and I think Declan Rice. Like I can't remember where I seen the clip. It was on social media somewhere. And Declan Rice is talking to someone and he's saying, I want to win everything. I want to win trophies. I want the big trophies. And no disrespect to Arsenal fans at all. But if you said to me, out of Man City and Arsenal, who's more likely in the next 4 years to win the Champions League, not even just off the back of last season's Champions League final, but just in general in terms of squad and manager and how they play and goals that they score, you're going to say Man City because I think they're more likely. From what we've known, I mean, who would have had Arsenal being second in the league and pushing City as far as they did last season as well? So you don't know. I just think I 100% agree with you in terms of game time. He's almost guaranteed to start 99% of games at Arsenal under Arteta. That's a given. But I think Pep likes to bring in players, and I think another thing with Pep, I think once he starts, I mean, if they're paying 100 million. He's more than likely going to start a lot of games. Jack Grealish is this season more so. Last season, when he's the first season he signed, he was coming off the bench. But this season, he's played a lot more football, and I think he would improve Declan Rice. Not to say that he'd make him a world-class midfielder, but I think he would take Declan Rice to the next level. I don't think Arteta can do that. I think Pep would make him one of those players that you would just go in 20 years ago, remember Declan Rice when he was at West Ham, and then they did the improvement of him.
Yeah,
Pep can do that unless Pep leaves, which is again very likely in the next season or two. But if he stays, and he can improve Declan Rice to be one of the best midfielders in the world. So I think for me, City is the only option for Declan Rice. Arsenal, in my opinion, are very silly in terms of how they've gone about the pay structure. Trying to get Declan Rice. I think I read like 60 odd million plus add-ons and all the rest of it, Klarna, the payments and all that. But I think, you know, they missed out on Caicedo for doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So I think they have to get one of all. They can't miss out on Caicedo and Declan Rice, because Caicedo apparently is heading towards Chelsea, apparently, from what I'm hearing. And Declan Rice, if he goes to City, it's going to leave a massive void for Arsenal, because they know they need to address that. You just mentioned before about Jorginho and other midfielders that are going to potentially be leaving. They still need to fill that void. So
yeah, agreed.
They have to get that deal done, in my opinion.
Agreed. No, it's true, and I think it would hurt Arsenal big time, considering Caicedo and Rice are the top targets. If you don't get those two and you're losing Xhaka and Partey, where do you go next? This is because, I mean, it looks like they've gone for their plan A's and not gone for their not looked for a plan B. I mean, maybe they have, but and you said it as well with the offer, because West Ham have been very adamant from day one, whether you're casual or not, it's 100+. So to bid 80 and 90 is just being silly. You know what they want. They're not budging. There is no given leeway. And clubs talk to agents and players away from their clubs. I'm pretty sure the agent would have told them they're not budging on 80 or 90. You have to pay 100+. So, they need to sign. They need to sign these guys.
Even the owner from West Ham,
Sullivan.
Sullivan. I was going to say Gold, but Sullivan. Even he came out and said, you know, we've got a gentleman's agreement with Declan Rice that he can leave at the end of the season. He wants to leave. He's told us that he wants to go. This is the money that we want for him. Arsenal, and the worst thing is Arsenal have just spent 65 million, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, but they've just spent 65 million on Kai Havertz. Did they actually need him? Yes, they need squad depth. I'm not saying that they need squad depth. There's probably other players out there that they could have spent less on than Kai Havertz. But if you need to fulfill a position that you haven't fulfilled, 65 million for Kai Havertz seems a bit mad when you talk about it in that kind of way of it. But I don't know, man. It reminds me of the Suarez, the 45 million and £1. So this is Arsenal, the Arsenal way, unfortunately. But they do have to address that. They really do, because I think you can't go into that Champions League without having the depth, especially in midfield. You have to think about injuries. You have to think about the rotation of the squad, all of those stuff. This is, you know, I'm not saying Arsenal win the Champions League, but if they want to progress, they want to get as far as they can, quarterfinals, semis, maybe the final, whatever, then they've got to have the squad to do it. You can't go in there with a minimal squad, bare bones. It just won't work.
No, facts. Well, I mean, we'll stick with the top four rivals, because whilst Arsenal look like they're not bolstering their midfield, Newcastle, man. I actually thought Newcastle would take their time, as in I thought it would be 2 years, maybe they qualify for the Conference League, then they qualify for Europa League, and then maybe make that push for the Champions League. And, you know, maybe a title challenge in the next 3 years, because the money's there to do it. People think, of course, the gap between them and City is big, but sometimes all it takes is a transfer window to just close that gap. A transfer window and good form, and suddenly the gap goes from 30 points to 5 points. But in the last 2 weeks, they bid for Nicolo Barella and Sandro Tonali. And they're getting Sandro Tonali because I call him Uncle Here We Go. Fabrizio Romano has come out and said that essentially they have agreed the fee now, and that the personal terms were done a week prior.
Yeah,
that to me is an insane move, because I didn't actually think Tonali would be near enough available. I thought Tonali being an AC Milan fan, on top of being their key man, would just be a no-go zone. You can't touch him. But they've been audacious enough to make the move, and they've succeeded. Bro, how big is this for Newcastle? Like, and I'm not saying Newcastle in terms, if people are listening and saying, oh, that's a bit rude. No, I'm not saying Newcastle like Newcastle are, all right, just for them. You're not Sunderland, but considering that you just hit the Champions League just now, like you've just got here, to go and grab Tonali is wow.
It's insane.
Wow.
It's insane. It's insane. I think it's I'll give you I'll give you um I think it was always going to happen. I think they were always going to try and um go big at some point. I think they
Mm,
had to. I think if you look, I mean, I spoke when Graham Potter signed. I don't want to take it back to Chelsea, but when Graham Potter signed for Chelsea, I looked at the signings that we brought in, 600 million.
right.
I looked at Eddie Howe signings, and he spent like 250 million on like Dan Burn and Kieran Trippier and all these other players that had come in. Gomez,
Mm.
I think, was another one. Isak, I think, was the highest at 45 million or something.
Yeah,
Brought him in.
yeah,
And look how they've played. They ran through brick walls for Eddie Howe. When the tough got going, or whatever that saying is, the going gets tough, all that stuff, they done what they needed to do for Eddie Howe, and they ran
yep.
through brick walls for him. So I think, and I mean, I read the other day they've only got a budget of 75 million, but I don't know if that's how true that is.
I don't believe it.
Um,
Personally,
no,
I
no,
don't.
no. I mean, I don't at all. If they're, I think, what are they paying for Tonali? Is it like 70 million euros? So
Yeah, 70 euros. Yeah,
so come on, and there's still talks of James Maddison, I think, going there as well.
yeah,
So I think I mean, it's a massive deal for them. You know, you think back to the old days when they were signing Aspria and those kind of players. You know, it feels like the Newcastle of old. You know, David Ginola, those players when they signed
yeah,
them. I'm not saying that I mean, I didn't know about Ginola, I suppose, but until he came to the Prem or Aspria, I didn't really know about them. But we know about Tonali. But
yeah,
what I'm saying is that they're able to sign these high caliber, kind of high profile named players again because of the Champions League pool is obviously massive, but also the financial backing. I mean, you've got an owner that is willing to dip into his pocket and pay the money and not mess around. You know, it sounds like they've literally just gone over there. I think that the one of the directors of football went over today to seal the deal. You know, they're just on the phone. Are you up for it? Yeah. Okay. Get on the first plane over to Italy, get it done, get back to Newcastle, and that's it. So there's no messing around with like AC have said this is the price. That's the price. That's it.
yeah.
So one thing I will say about tonight, I do like him as a player, but I think he'll pick up a lot of yellow cards because I watch him. I watch him a lot for Serie A, and he loves a good tackle. He loves to get stuck in, which is not a bad thing. They need someone like that, but
Yeah.
I just think you don't want to be losing him. I remember Casemiro a couple of times. A similar, not a similar player, but in terms of bookings and fouls and the rest of it, he picks up a lot of those bookings, and you accumulate the suspensions, or you get a red and it's 3 games out, 3 match ban. So yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I mean, maybe. I mean, I was trying to think about what kind of team he was trying to build because when he was first linked, that's new. Eddie Howe. That is when he was first linked with Scott McTominay and all these guys. I was thinking, oh, he wants a energetic midfield. That can last 90 minutes. So stamina wise, they'll go through brick rules, as you said, because McTominay is a passionate footballer. At the end of the day, he's passionate. He'll fight for the shirt. That's literally his thing, and he's actually a good footballer. I'm not gonna,
Yeah, I like McTominay, man. I think he gets a lot of stick.
He gets a lot of unfair stick. I mean, I even me, I'm guilty of that. Let me not lie. I'm giving him unfair stick, but it's just more so because as fans, some of us feel like he'd be a bit more of a squad player for us than a main man,
regular starter.
But that doesn't make him a bad footballer. He's a good footballer. And he's actually a good goal getter as well for Man United.
Yeah.
So I thought that's what Eddie Howe wanted. But going for Tonali, it looks like he's going for not only a bit of steal, as you said. He just pick up yellow cards. He's a bit of aggressive player. Maybe like I'm assuming midfield hero Gattuso, AC Milan legend. You never know.
Yeah.
A bit like that, but also he can play, and this is the main thing that I think Newcastle needed. I've always said that Newcastle need a creative influence in that midfield. Whether it's from deep or whether it's advanced, you need someone who will just be able to spray passes. And not only is he a tough tackler, he is a player that is comfortable with the ball at his feet, very comfortable. Got an eye for a pass, can hit shots from range. They've signed a quality footballer here, so they should be absolutely over the moon with the signing. And dare I say, as much as I don't want it to happen, I would actually be very, very interested if they went back in for Barella and said, "We still want you."
I think they are. I think I read they are. They still want him. They
Brilliant,
still want him.
because a midfield of Barella, Tonali, and Bruno
Yeah.
Ramirez is like
Scary. No, he's not
yeah.
scary. And then you think about the
That's
players in front of him now. You got Almiron. You got
yeah,
I know Saint Maximum hasn't really played last season on the left, but he sat down the middle. So what Callum Wilson there, they can swap the two of them. So they still I think personally they still need to look at the defense as well.
yeah, yeah,
Um, I think Jamal Lascelles kind of came back into the squad the back end of last season, and Dan Burns at left back,
yeah.
Trippier. So I think they still need to look at that. They can't go into, for me, they can't go into the Champions League with that defense, in my opinion. But
That's fair.
I think baby steps, not even baby steps. They're at the toddler stage now, where they're walking and talking and whatever, because they're actually doing what they should be doing at the level. I think they're ahead of their time in terms of the takeover. You know, like you said, they should be trying to get like a Conference League trophy or Europa League, but they're in the big time already. They haven't really spent excessive, in my opinion. 250 million or whatever it is now.
It's good money.
Not a lot when you think Everton has spent $500 million and
Boy.
close to relegation. So, you know, I don't think you can. I don't think you can criticize Eddie Howe, the owners, or nothing. They've done it the right way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. No, I fully agree. And I want it to continue because I feel like we need another shake-up, and you can't have Man City, Liverpool, Man United sometimes, Arsenal sometimes, Chelsea, Spurs sometimes. You can't have them being comfortable because, and I'm gonna say this now. In my opinion, I think we need to stop talking about top 4, top 6.
Yeah, I've stopped that anyway.
Because it's gonna be,
what is the top 6 now? What does the top 6 consist of? Because Newcastle just finished top 4. Are they top 6 now? Are they top 4 club?
There you go.
So,
Brighton finished 6. Are they a top 6 club now? For certain,
exactly.
are they? So, you know, you might also just say there's a top 4 for the season and just keep it moving. At this point, it is what it is.
We finished outside. Let's be right. We finished outside the top 4, top 6, and top 10. So what does that make us? You know what I mean? So I think you're right. I think we've got to just stop this whole top 6 and top 4. I think that's more for the TV. The pundits love to build up race to the top 4 and race to the top 6 and all that stuff. So I think they love all that. But I think personally, you know, I think it's like we said about the Champions League spots, Europa Conference is all fair game as well. You know, anyway, it's up for anyone to take, and no one should be like embarrassed to be in that. You know, I think there's clubs or fans that are like, oh, you know, we're in the Conference League or whatever. I think is it Liverpool that made it this year, I think, or
Liverpool or Europa League.
Oh, sorry, it's Aston Villa. Is it Aston Villa?
Yes.
Aston Villa. So, you know, they can't be embarrassed by that. They've been out of Europe for how many years? So they should be proud that they're in that.
Yeah. When you mentioned Isaac and Wilson, I was thinking strikers for a second. Someone I forgot to ask you about. Just go back to Chelsea real quick. Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
I'll
be honest. I do not know much about this player. I had to research him because I was like, who is he? And I don't know. I still don't fully know. I know he's had a really good back end of the season. I'll be honest. I've read that he scored. I can't remember. I don't want to put a number on it, but he scored a fair amount of goals in a short space of games. Maybe 19 games and so many goals. I can't remember. Yeah. But he sounds like someone we need. If I'm honest, he sounds like someone that is not high profile. He's not. When I say high profile, he's not a Lukaku. He's not a. You know, you think when we signed Didier Drogba, he wasn't really a known player. So I'm hoping it's one of those signings where, yes, we haven't broke the bank for him. I think he's 35 million release clause or something. So I think if he can come in and do the job, he's almost ahead of what we need because we've got the wire players, we've got the Mudryk, we've got Madueke, we've got Raheem Sterling, we've got I was going to say Felix, we haven't got him anymore, but we've got someone else that we're going to try. Oh, and Cuckoo, we've got him in there as well. So I think Poch needs to, I mean, he starts in 2 weeks, the 3rd of July, that's his first. So he needs to start getting all these players, getting everyone back from preseason, get the new signings in and just get them working and see what he can do. But what do you think about him? Because I don't know if you know more about him.
I do actually think he's good. I'm trying to remember how many goals he got in there. I think he got around 12, 13 goals in the league last year for Villarreal. Villarreal had an okay season, if you want to give them that, you know. Where did they even finish? You know, let me even see the La Liga table whilst I'm here, because they were a bit up and down, Villarreal. But then, you know, it is what it is. That's what happens in football, isn't it? So where did they finish last year? 22-23. Just trying to remember again. Showing me last season's table. Here we go. La Liga, Eurosport with the clutch. They finished fifth,
Oh, they
which is
finished
not
fifth,
which is
man.
not bad. Yeah,
Respectable.
they had a good season. I think they were expecting top four because they didn't expect Sociedad to have such a good year.
Yeah,
Sociedad are the team that finished fourth. I will say this: he's a bit of a gamble, but he is a bit of a. Actually, no. I'll put it to you like this. He always influences games. So similar to, and I would never ever disrespect Didier Drogba. Drogba is a legend. He was an incredible striker. But you know, in this era, they're all about numbers. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
that's what they're obsessed about. So when Drogba didn't have a 20-goal season, people would talk rubbish about him now because he didn't score that many. They didn't really understand what he did, whatever. Nicholas Jackson can be that kind of player for you. He's not as physically imposing as Drogba, but he's young enough to get that build up.
Yeah, how old is he? 22, I think, isn't he, or something like that? So
yeah, 21, 22. So you've got time for him. But what I will say is this, and I'll be fair to him. If you get a lot more creativity around him than he did at Villarreal, you're gonna enjoy it because Chukwueze is not really, for me, a creative winger. He's someone that tries to get a bit more goals in his game. Parejo is probably the most creative player because his passing is just incredible. But I think in the Premier League, where you have a bit more speed around him, he's a quick player, and always has an eye for goal. He's someone that tries to do what I want a striker to do, try and get goals. You know,
that's it.
I wouldn't look at I wouldn't look at the 12 goals and feel nervous. I'd say, okay, you're a young boy. Let's give you a shot and give him 3 years to see what he can develop into. And if he becomes that guy, that's fantastic. So yeah, I think it's a gamble because I think there are probably 4 or 5 other strikers you could probably spend around the same money on and go for. But nevertheless, that doesn't make him any less than the other guys. He is a good player, and I think he'll be a decent addition for Chelsea. And to be fair, I think he suits Pochettino's football very well.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say. Because we've still got. I mean, there's talk of David Datcher Fofana. I can't remember where he's meant to be going on loan. I can't remember. It might be a club in Turkey or maybe it's Palace or West somewhere. Anyway, I read that he's meant to be going on loan. Amanda Broyer's back in. Looks like proper training. So
okay.
Amanda Broyer is obviously someone that missed the whole of the season. I'm expecting either him to go out on loan or to stay as a second striker or someone that can come off the bench. And obviously the elephant in the room, Lukaku. Yeah. I mean, I'm hearing now that AC Milan are interested in him if Inter can't buy him. So, I'd be surprised. I think Dzeko just left Inter as well. Didn't he? He's literally gone to, he's gone to Fenerbahce, I think, or he's gone to somewhere in Turkey today or yesterday. So, so there might be. I think the ultimate thing for Lukaku, he wants to go to, stay. It's in Italy. He doesn't want to come back to England. So, I'm looking forward to what Jackson can do. I think he's. Like I said, I don't know much about him, but there's obviously room for him. That's an area of the team that we've been crying out for someone to take hold of and say, look, make it yours, make it your role, make it you, and do what you can do with it. So if it's him, then good. If it's not, then we haven't spent 100 million or 97.5 million like we did with Lukaku on him. So I'm happy in that sense as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's going to be a very interesting season for you guys in general, because obviously no European football and a lot of goings out and comings in, so it's going to be interesting. But I think someone like him, he would thrive in that environment, and I'm actually interested to see what happens with Broha as well, because I mean, being so young to have such an injury is devastating. But the good thing is he's still young. That's the big plus for me here. So if you can just, which I think you guys are good at, just take your time with him and just bring him back slowly and get back to fitness. He'll be okay. Any more transfers to talk about? I'm trying to think of any more.
One's literally just gone through as we were recording.
Who's that?
Justin Kluivert signed for Bournemouth.
Excuse me?
Yeah, so was he on loan at Rome, or was he?
He was their player, I believe.
So yeah, he's just based as Bournemouth have completed a deal for Justin Kluivert for 9.5 million with 850 add-ons. He's gonna have a medical tomorrow, 5-year contract. That's come from Uncle. Here we go. That's Fabrizio Romano. Literally tweeted that 8:01 as we're recording, so 10 minutes ago. So yeah, that's a steal. Oh, I think it was Valencia. I didn't know it. Was he at Valencia? I didn't
He
even know
was
that.
at Valencia. Yes, he was.
He did. In fact, I
He
should know
was.
that because I watched their last game of the season when they nearly got relegated. I should know
Yeah. Me too. I was hoping to take the L and get out of there. Man. To be fair to him and I forgot who the other player was. Was it Musa? Them two stood up.
Cavani's there as well at Valencia.
Yeah, forget that guy, man. Him and Musa backed Vinicius, which was lovely because I was worried that which probably
yes, of course.
Yeah, which probably plays a part in Valencia. I'll probably just put him on the market. But I was worried that they would try and vilify him because he's standing up for Vinicius. But the fact is, you guys were racist, so that's that.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, that's a good move for Bournemouth. And actually, Bournemouth do need to add because they are lacking quality. Because they were relying a lot on Philip Billing towards the end of the season. He was doing pretty much a lot of goal scoring and creating. So someone like Kluivert, who's a direct winger, speedy,
very good.
Yeah, very good addition. No, but that's a good one.
It's a bit weird though because obviously they just sacked Gary O'Neill. So
yeah,
I can't remember who's come in. They've I think
Anthony Iraola. He's had a bit of an up and down managerial career as well because his first job, I forget where it was, but he got fired after like less than 6 months. Then he went somewhere, did all right, went to another club, got fired again. And where did he just come from? Was it Valladolid?
I think you're right.
Yeah,
somewhere like that.
Yeah, where he's come from, he's had an okay season. So, the deal was done very quickly after O'Neill was let go. So I'm assuming that was just
definitely announced it the same day.
Yeah, so I think it was in the pipeline, but I don't. Was it right to sack O'Neill? I mean, he didn't get many crazy results, but your Bournemouth, with the players that he has at his disposal, he
kept him up. For me, that's enough. I think if you, it's very similar to, and kind of going off topic, it's similar to Darren Moore at Sheffield Wednesday. Like the fact that he got them, he nearly lost. What was it, 4-0 first leg or something mad like that, and then to go through, get to Wembley, get them promoted, and then mutual leave, like both leave on mutual terms. It's a bit weird. And I feel like the Gary O'Neill, I feel like Bournemouth owners had already made that decision before the end of this, before the season ended, because you don't sack a manager who kept you up, kept you in the top flight of English football, and sack him. And it's not like they sacked him because it was like a conversation. Clearly, they had him lined up anyway, the new man. So that conversation was just formality from Gary O'Neill and the owner. So I think it's a really backwards way of doing it, and it shows a massive reflection on the owners and the club and how they're running it. And you look at Watford now, you don't want to be a Watford. Do you know what I mean?
Not want to be a Watford. You do not. Because Watford fans know that if they come back to the Premier League, give it 2 years maximum, they're going straight back down after they have about 10 managers coming in and out of the club.
Tottenham. Got more breaking news if you want it.
Okay, go for it.
So it says here that Saudi Arabia have withdrawn their candidacy for the 2030 World Cup. Very, very interesting.
Oh,
not sure why.
I thought that was a major part of bringing Ronaldo to the country.
I'm not sure, but it says they basically don't feel they can compete with Spain, Portugal, or Morocco.
They know something's happening because aren't they doing like a joint?
Come on,
Spain, Portugal, this is joint. They know what's happening. They know what's happening.
Something's going on behind the scenes,
Yeah. So the World Cup is going to be Spain, Portugal. They're going to do a joint one. Fantastic.
Yeah.
At least we know.
Sorry, I'll cut you up. You said Tottenham. You wanted to talk Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham. So Tottenham are losing Hugo Lloris.
Yes,
and they are looking to sign the Empoli goalkeeper Vicario. Now,
yeah, they've signed him. I think it's a done deal.
Oh, well, perfect. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna say this because I actually think he's a good goalkeeper. He's not the best with his feet, but he's not bad either. He's comfortable enough where they can start building attacks from the back. He's comfortable enough to do that. he is 26 years old, and he's a decent shot stopper. He will improve, and I think he's been improving in the last 2 years. So I feel like that's why I'm assuming Ange, the new manager. I say first name because the last name I don't want to butcher it. Yeah, I need to learn how to say it properly. It doesn't even look hard to. It doesn't even look hard to even say, to be honest. But when it's not in front of me, I can't read it properly. But if it's his signing, I think it's a good signing, and I think it's a signing that makes sense. And the fee is not big. So whilst Brentford wanted a lot of money for David Raya, I think sometimes common sense has got to prevail here. And if there's someone that's similar and a lot cheaper, you just got to get him and go with it. So, yeah, so take that. Man United might actually lose David De Gea next week.
How do you feel?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not happy about it. But the reason I'm not happy about it is because
you're not happy about it.
No.
Okay.
The reason I'm not happy about it is because, like, Man United fans, what Man United fans don't seem to understand is our goalkeepers this year were David De Gea, Jack Butland for 6 months, and Tom Heaton. Butland's already gone to Rangers, but he was never going to be a competitor for the first team, number one jersey anyway. And Heaton is past his age, and he's essentially going to be there for the little cup games against the lower league opponents. So when you've got De Gea there, sign him on for another year or two, but also buy a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So that, it's
transition.
It's a transition. You bring the new goalkeeper in, he can be a number one, that's not a problem. But at least you have another good enough goalkeeper just in case of something happening. This is what they're there for. You know what I mean? I don't like the fact that Man United fans are so eager to get him out. Wages are high, despite the fact that he's really said that if he signs a new contract, the wage is going to be a lot lower than what he's on right now. But people tend to forget about that. Number two, treat him with a bit more respect. I'm not saying, be like nostalgic or whatever, but he's not been a terrible goalkeeper for Man United. People talk about him right now as if he's been shocking throughout the years. And now they're doing these pathetic compilations of mistakes. And I'm like, yeah, in those seasons, he also saved your butt a million times.
Yeah, so, people forget.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I get it. Everyone wants to force every single goalkeeper to have to be good with their feet and play from the back and stuff. What people tend to forget and don't realize is, and again, it's going back to why I hate systems and why I do blame Pep, even though it's not really his fault. Not every player, not every goalkeeper, not every defender, not every midfielder, not every forward has the ability to play that type of football. So if they suit a different style of football and it works for them, it doesn't make them bad. It means they just don't suit that brand of football.
It's
if
true.
David De Gea can't play from the back, so be it. But it doesn't mean forget about what he's good at and just cuss him out for what he's not good at. He has been a brilliant goalkeeper for Man United to the point at some point where people, not only in the Man United camp, but outside of Man United fans, were saying that this guy could be one of the greatest Premier League goalkeepers of all time. They were saying it.
I think people forget how hard goalkeepers are hard to come by. Like, there's not just a pool of goalkeepers coming through. Look, there is, but they're not all top quality. And if we're going to be honest, there's very few and far between. And when you get hold of one, they are going to make. They're not robots. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have moments of form, just like every other outfield player does, where they don't perform as well as they do. This is why I look at Kepa as an example, or I keep bringing it back to Chelsea because that's just where my mind is at the moment. But there's other goalkeepers out there that you could say had a half decent season, then they have a bad dip in form, during the Christmas period, and then they rediscover it at the end of the season. So if that keeps happening, of course, you're gonna put you could pull a compilation together of that little dip in form, or over the past 5 years, you could put a compilation together of all De Gea's bad mistakes. But you could do that for Ronaldo, you could do that for Messi, you could do that for Neymar. I could probably put 10 video clips together of Neymar misplacing a pass. So what does that say? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. I just think I do think maybe the time a couple of seasons ago for De Gea was to go then. If you remember the whole fax machine thing and it didn't go through and all that. Maybe then was his time. I feel like he should just go down now. I mean, how old is he? I don't know. Is he still? He must be beyond 30.
I mean, he joined us at 21, so he's probably at 31, 32 now.
So I think he's still got another mean, goalkeepers get an extra 2 or 3 years, don't they?
Mm.
Technically, so I think, yeah, he might move on. He wants to go back home to Spain at some point and play there for a season or two. But I think the level of disrespect around him is crazy. I don't think that's deserving at all. But it's who do you bring in?
Well, we've been linked with Onana from
I
Inter.
know, I know. I don't want to hear that because I want him. I want him at
Oh.
the club. I think he is one of the best with his feet as well. I mean, his distribution.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching him in the final, and I mean, he's just one of those goalkeepers that you need if you want to play out from the back. If you want a goalkeeper that is solid, and we thought we had that in Mendy. You know, like I said, the goalkeepers can be good at one thing and really poor at another. And you just have to understand, well, how can I adapt my system to make sure that that doesn't happen? You know, Mendy was really bad with his feet. He's got really bad distribution. So you don't necessarily want him playing out from the back. There's times where he had lapses in concentration where I think it was West Ham. He literally had the ball and I can't remember who was coming towards him. It was either Gerard Bowen or someone was coming towards him. Might have been Shamaka or whoever it was. And he literally just had the ball, like literally didn't know. He like had stage fright. This guy just had a whole clear moment of fog in his head. So, you know, those things are going to happen to a goalkeeper or outfield player. You know, we can't just base our opinions on that. We have to say, well, he got us to the Champions League final. He helped us win the Club World Cup. You know, we can't just think of the bad things. We've got to think about the good things that the goalkeepers are doing as well. And let's be honest, your goalkeeper's only as good. And I always say this to people. You got to have a really good defense in front of you.
Fact.
Otherwise, you're picking out the ball possibly out the back of your net at some point during the game because your defense is only as good as the goalkeeper can be. He needs a really good centre-back partnership in front of him. He needs to know that they're all going to work. The cohesion needs to be there with the whole defense, the back four, back five, whatever. They have to be on the same page, all of them.
Yeah.
So if that don't work and you got 2 out of the 4 of them that are working together, it's a goalkeeper's nightmare. So exactly. I don't know what people want, man. I'd love to see some of these fans go and goal for 2 games at Old Trafford, 70,000 or whatever.
Errors galore, I'm telling you. And
they won't even make it till half time. They want to get subbed off. They'll be like that.
Be crying.
The ref. Do you know what I mean? They're like, no, hamstring, ankle. So they can't. Nah, man, come on.
No, it's facts. It's facts. Like, every goalkeeper makes mistakes. Even Alisson's a brilliant.
Edison.
Brilliant goalkeeper.
Edison make mistakes as well.
Edison,
2 of the best goalkeepers.
Edison, who's known for his passing, literally threw the ball to McTominay and conceded the goal from near enough the halfway line. Alisson's made mistakes this season. He's been Liverpool's best player, but he's also made mistakes this season. Hell, you go back to some of the greatest goalkeepers we've ever seen. All of them have. There's nothing wrong with it.
Schmeichel, Petr Cech, David Seaman.
There you go. Casillas was vilified for about 3 years at Real Madrid before he left because he started making a catalogue of errors. He went from near enough the perfect goalkeeper for them to
he needed to run out of here.
Keylor Navas. They did not like Keylor Navas. In fact, get him to Man United, get the hair in. Suddenly, he became one of the greatest goalkeepers to ever do it in the Champions League. You know, it is what it is. But look, we are linked with Onana. He makes mistakes as well, and he makes a lot of mistakes. But he is better with his feet. I will say this, United fans, if you want to play from the back, you might need better playing out of the back than Varane and Maguire. Because I'm not saying Martinez, because Martinez can do it. Lindelof can do it. Lindelof is a bit up and down with it, but he can do it. Varane is not the best with the ball at his feet, and Maguire seems to become what's his name, Beckenbauer, when he's playing against North Macedonia. So there you go. Any other ones before we leave?
Just 2 for me, and they're not big ones, but they did surprise me, and they're 2 United ones. So Zidane Iqbal and Hannibal have both left the club, and I think.
Has Hannibal left?
Yeah. I'm sure he left. I'm sure I read yesterday. I think Zidane Iqbal left today for €1 million or something, which I think is crazy. And I'm pretty sure Zidane Iqbal left. Hannibal left. I think I can't remember where he's gone. He's definitely leaving, or he's due to leave.
I know Dortmund want him.
Well, I think today I seen a tweet to say that basically it's like 13 or maybe 18 million euros, I think, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah, so they've offered. I think they're about to offer. They have offered 15 million euros, and there was something that came out about essentially Ten Hag not being interested in keeping talents that he doesn't deem are going to be top class, world class players.
He's top class. He'll be top class. I've watched him too much for the development
So
squad
good.
for United. I've watched him for Birmingham City. He is going to the top, I'm telling you. And maybe not now. Maybe, I mean, Ten Hag is a world class manager, so he probably knows about a lot more than I do. But I'm telling you, from what I've seen of this player, youth level anyway, he's a very good talent, man. And now I'm surprised that United are letting him go. And there's certain players that are still there that might need to move on for
Yeah.
obvious reasons eventually. So, don't know.
I mean, I agree with about Hannibal Mejbri. I mean, for anyone that has watched United's youth, you could see there was a special talent from early.
Yeah, come on. I used to go
Guy,
every Monday, man.
yeah, man. He stands out so much from the pack.
Yeah.
It's crazy. As for Zidane Iqbal, that one did surprise me more so about the transfer fee rather than him leaving. And the reason why is because not that I expected him to leave. He was not a name on my list whatsoever. I thought he'd have like another 2-3 years at United anyway. But it looked like the window for him to break into the team had gone.
Yeah.
And he wasn't getting like even sub appearances anymore because he was on the bench quite a bit and then suddenly you just didn't see him anymore. I was like, okay, that's a bit weird. Okay, maybe he's not cut out to be what they think or what they want him to be in the next couple of years. So, hey, so be it, you know. And he's obviously going to play in Eredivisie, and it could be a good proving ground for him. You never know what he could become.
Yeah, it's a good league, man. It's a good league.
Yeah, it's a good league, exactly. So we'll see what happens. I mean, look, with talents, you just never know. Like Man United fans were absolutely furious collectively when we lost Angel Gomez, and right now, I don't think Angel Gomez will get into any for the media guys top 6 team, let alone like a Villa or something right now. No disrespect to them. And then you got someone like Marcus Edwards who left Tottenham because Tottenham didn't think he'd be good enough. And right now he's playing at Sporting Lisbon and he's enjoying himself a lot and he's wanted by Premier League clubs again. So it means that there's talent there. You just never know. And then sometimes you get lucky, you know. Arsenal was it Talksport? Talksport got the old academy manager from Arsenal that released Harry Kane. Almost to like embarrass him, saying, "Why did you think he was not going to make him?" Like, well, guys, you just don't know that. Maybe he wasn't sure because he had like 10 loans before he broke into the Tottenham team.
Yeah, so I remember him at Orient, man. He was at Leighton Orient and Leicester. I think he went there. He went loads of places, man.
He was everywhere. So when he's going to all these clubs, at some point you're thinking, this guy ain't making it. But he just took one chance and suddenly he became the man. So
that's what it takes, man. This is why when everyone talks about certain players that have gone on from other clubs, you don't know at the time. You know, managers obviously don't see what and let's be honest, not everyone makes it through that door. Yeah, not everyone that's got a talent is going to go and burst through and be the Kevin De Bruyne or the Mo Salahs and whoever, Harry Kane. So you don't know that, and it's hard to. It must be hard as a coach at that level to make those kind of decisions, and then 20 years later, you're talking on Talksport asking why did you make that? Because at the time, that's what the player was. At the time, the player was not good enough to make the cut. He made the cut somewhere else. That's it.
Fact. And this is how it is. As fans will laugh at him and say you don't know nothing. Well, I'll tell you right now. There was a time when I was sitting on a podcast saying that Eric Lamela is going to be the man, and Eric Lamela did not become the man whatsoever. And there was a time when I was sitting on a podcast.
He made the final. Wasn't he not in the final? What final did I watch? He was in it.
Yeah, Sevilla. He won the Europa League with them. Yeah. You know, and then there was another time when I'm not gonna lie, when he was at Leicester, I was doubting Kante a bit because I was like, yeah, I see the energy, but I don't see the quality. Like, what's going on? Like, is he that good? Is he that good?
You had a howler with that one.
Howler. Absolute howler. To the point
I've had them myself, man. I've had them myself, man. I've talked about our big players up all the time. And it just hasn't materialized for whatever reason. Because you see them at youth level. And so maybe I'm going to be wrong about Hannibal and Zidane. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but from what I've seen so far, they will be. I remember Lewis Baker for the Chelsea people. Lewis Baker is one of those players I used to bang on about to everyone. It didn't matter who you was, even if you like football. I'm telling you about Lewis Baker, and I don't even know where he is now. I don't know if he's got a club. I think he was at Reading a couple of seasons ago. So I don't know where he is now. So you know, yeah, it happens.
Happens, man. You just never know, man. we've had a lot of players come in, show quality. I even go back to Fran Merida. That's the name for someone, anyone that's
Yeah,
listening.
wow.
Well, he looked like he's gonna be the guy, and then out of nowhere he went
It's
nowhere.
crazy.
But it happens. It's football, man. It's a cutthroat sport. It's a game that we love, and it's a game that they love as well. And some people make it, some people don't. But you never know what their future could be. You could be a Mourinho who was never the best footballer, but one of the best managers ever.
Precisely.
You know, or you could be
You could be a Steven Gerrard who was a really good footballer and a really bad manager.
there you go. There you go. So hey, I'm intrigued to see what happens in the rest of the transfer window. Not gonna lie, bro, I'm gonna keep shouting you for a lot of
Yeah, man, 100%, man. Appreciate you letting me come back on, man, and speak. I know I speak too much, but you know,
hey, you speak perfectly, man. That's what we want. We want more on that, so that's perfect. But yeah, we'll wrap it up here. An hour and 20. I'm pretty sure as soon as we lock this off, something else is gonna happen. But we can address that another day. So yeah, before we go, of course, plug yourself. Where can they find you?
yeah. So back to recording. I had a couple of weeks off just because it's chaotic. But yeah, you can see on there from the shed end, it's mainly Chelsea content on there. So if you're not a Chelsea fan, or if you want to just find out about Chelsea, then come over to From the Shed End on Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that stuff. And Style of Play Football is coming back next season. I know I keep banging on about it. It is going to come back next season. I'm going to put all my effort into making sure that it's going to be up and running. So Style of Play Football on Twitter. Make sure you follow that and subscribe on the YouTube channel as well for both football, Style of Play Football, and From the Shed End. Subscribe for both of them on YouTube.
Love that, and of course, you'll find all the links in the bio and on the YouTube and on Spotify as well. And of course, 3inMidfield podcast. If you're listening, you know where to find us. But if someone's playing and you don't know where to find us, YouTube 3inMidfield podcast, and audio is just 3inMidfield as a whole. No spaces in there. But yeah, here's to a nice transfer window. There's going to be a lot more drama. Hopefully, a lot more Saudi moves to piss off certain people in the media, no names. But other than that, everyone else have a good day. And yeah, speak soon. Peace.